Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 127 of Build Your Stash and Craft. Today we are going to make a rain stick, and this is what a rain stick is, and it just makes a really pretty sound, at least to me. Now to some people this might be like fingernails on a chalkboard, but I love the way that they sound, and so this is what we're going to make today. And what we're going to just do is we are going to take our paper towel roll, and on your paper towel roll it has the little wrap that goes all the way around where they wrap the cardboard. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to start down about a half an inch, 3/4 of an inch from the top, right just outside that line, just because it gives us something to follow. You don't have to do it that way. You can just do it very randomly. And then we're just going to carefully poke the skewer through, and don't poke your fingers. Make sure that your fingers are on the other side. So we're just going to poke it through, go through to the other side, and poke it through. Now what you're going to do is you're going to push it all the way through, leave a little bit sticking out the end. We'll cut this off later, and then just nip off the skewer there, so that you still have the point for the next one. And then you're just going to come down, half an inch, 3/4 of an inch, or whatever, and carefully poke that through. Just go through to the other side and poke it through, and then poke it all the way through till you have a little bit sticking out, and then go through and nip that off. Now you can, when you nip them off, make sure that you hang on to this. Make sure you hang on to this because it has a point on the end, and if you nip it without hanging on to it, it will go flying. So you could hurt someone. So make sure you hang on to your skewer when you nip it. And then we've still got our point on the end to do the next one. And then we're just going to go all the way down and around. And it doesn't matter if they're exactly straight across. We're going to go in and fill any gaps in at the end, so you don't have to worry about exactly where it lines up at. And now see, this one came out, so I'm just going to go through and just push it back in where it is, because the toilet paper roll or the paper towel roll is a little bit squishy. Sometimes that happens. And so you don't really need to worry about that. You can just push it back in. If you cannot get it back in, just get another pointy skewer and go through. And if you can't find the hole on the other side, just put it anywhere, because it really does not matter exactly where they go. So try and get this one through here. I'm trying to make sure that I don't poke my fingers on the other side. And boy, the toilet paper, oh, you know why it's so tough? Because I'm trying to come through right where that line is, and that doesn't work. So I'm just going to kind of move over a little bit, because right where that line is, the paper towel roll is doubled. And so put that one through there. And then I'm going to nip off the point so I don't have a point on the end of this one. And there we go. And just continue going down and around. Now, if you don't want to use the pliers or the cutters to cut it, you can just break it. You can just put it through and break it. The only thing I have to say is when you break them, well, that one doesn't want to go through, and it's messing up everything else. My point, I'm going to get rid of that one because my point is just really squished on that one. So I'm going to go through this one, and I might be a little bit close to my line here, so it might have been double thickness right there. I'm just going to go through, push it through the other side. Now, if you want to, you can just go to the other side and just break it off. Now, the only thing about that is that's how I did my first one. They get a little bit slivery on here, and so when you're handling this one, be careful not to get slivers in your fingers. Believe me, I know, because I got a couple in my fingers, and they're so fine that I decided that using the cutters would be a better idea. So you're just going to continue and continue until you get all the way to the bottom end. Again, make sure you hold on to that. And then once you get to the bottom end, looking through the top, it looks kind of like this. That's a little hard to see, but that's what it looks like. And so then what you're going to do is say, well, there looks like there's a really big gap right here. I think I'll stick another one right through there. And so then you just go in and any place where you think you might need another one. You want them to be close together, not super close together, because you want the rice to be able to go down through there. Now, this one I'm going to have to come up because I'm at the same level as that skewer right there. So I either have to come up above it or down below it. It doesn't matter. So this one's going to be at an angle. Totally fine. So they don't have to be straight across from each other. They don't have to be level with each other. And I'm just going to poke that through. Now, if you're having a problem poking it through, what you can do is use your pokey tool. Let me grab mine. Got it right over here. You can use your pokey tool and just use your pokey tool to poke it because it's a little bit stronger. But then you have to find the hole on the other side. Not a big deal. Just, just a little bit of an FYI. So this one came out, so I'm going to put it back through there. Okay. And then you're just going to go through and say, well, do I think, and you can even look on the outside here and say, I don't think there's anything kind of like right in that area because we went down around that way. So I think I will put one right through. And that skewer does not want to have doesn't have a real point on it. I'm going to switch skewers again to get another good point. I'm just going to go through, and if I hit another skewer, I'm just going to move out of the way and just push that one through. And then when you get what you think is enough, what you're going to do is you're just going to put a little bit of rice in it. Well, no, the first thing we'll do is we'll put the bottom on it. And see how it sounds. So to make the bottom, what we're going to do is we're just going to take a piece of cardboard. This is just a macaroni and cheese box. And we're just going to take our paper towel roll and we're just going to set it on top of that and draw around it with a ballpoint pen. And the reason I use the ballpoint pen is because I also want to basically emboss it. So I'm just going to, and my hand is so totally in the way. I'm going to draw around it. Now you're going to need to have about a 1/2 inch of cardboard outside of this. So you want to make sure that your cardboard is big enough to be able to cut a 1/2 inch larger than this circle that we're drawing. So there's our circle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw around that circle, pressing heavily to emboss that down. And that's just, or what do you call it? Totally lost it. Whoops. And I want to stay on the same line because I'm basically trying to make a dent in there. Whatever you call making a dent. Because it's totally slipped my mind. Scoring. I was scoring around that circle. And then I'm just going to go and I'm going to cut around it about a 1/2 inch larger. Now, neither one of these circles has to be perfect because our toilet paper roll is not perfectly round. So we're just going to do that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to this 1/2 inch side, we're going to just cut right to our circle and make little tabs that will wrap up around. There we go. And then we're going to bend them just one at a time, bend them in. And it's easier to start with one and bend them in because then they'll all overlap the same way. And it'll sit a little bit better on your paper towel roll. It doesn't matter that it's going to be a little bit bulky because we're going to wrap something, we're going to decorate up the ends anyways. So, and we're going to make the ends bulkier just to give them some interest. And then we're going to use our tacky glue, whatever glue you want to use. I like the tacky glue because it holds a little bit quicker than the Elmer's glue does, but Elmer's glue works just fine. And actually then what we're going to need to do is get a rubber band, And that's the reason we started about a ½ inch down, is so that we have a place for these flaps to go. Now if you go to do this and your skewer's too close, just cut your flap shorter. And then we're just going to put this around here like this. And then we're going to put a rubber band on there to hold it so that it can dry. But I didn't bring a rubber band out with me, so I'll grab that in a minute. But then what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of rice. I have a ½ cup here, but it's only probably about a ¼ cup. And I'm just going to carefully put some rice in here. And I'm probably going to put maybe about that much. And then I'm just going to put my hand on the opened end. This end we should have a rubber band on. And I'm just going to tip it, and I'm going to see what it sounds like. And this sounds pretty good. Maybe we could use just a little bit more skewers in there, because that's what makes them take longer to get to the other end. So we'll just go ahead and put a few odd random skewers in a few different places. And then I'm going to do that. I'm going to just put in a few odd skewers. You know, just maybe like one here, and maybe one here, and one here. I'm not even putting marks on there, but you know, just wherever there's seems to be a big open space, put in a skewer. You don't want them too tight, or the rice will not go through. So, and that's why I always test it to see how it sounds. But I'm going to grab a rubber band for this, put the rest of those skewers in, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I put in 6 more pieces of skewer. I put a rubber band around here so that that glue can get dry. And I thought that I would just show you to use this. I wanted to just do like one more, and always keep watch of some that are trying to get away and see, oh, it just got away, and then just try and push it back through there. That one's really short, but just to kind of keep them so you don't have a whole bunch you have to go put back all at one time. So I just kind of always keep an eye out, and if I see one that's getting really low, like this one right here, then I just go to the other side and push it back through a little bit. And at the end, I just make sure that they're all going through both sides. And I'm just going to show you, I used the skewer. Where was I going to do that? Oh, up here. There was a little bit of a space I could use. And I used the pokey tool instead of the skewer to push through this side. And you can also take it all the way to the other side, not where the fold is, and just push it through like that. And then just take your skewer and put it through and find the other side too. So you can just do it like that, especially if your skewer's points want to just keep bending over. So there we go. Now I think we have enough there, and I have another cap made. And before we put the cap on, we're going to need to put the rice in there. So I'll try and do it more carefully this time so I don't have such a mess. And I'm going to say that's probably about a ¼ cup in there. And then I'm just going to see what it sounds like. And I like that. And that's good enough for me. And so what I'm going to do now is put my other cap on with some tacky glue. And then we'll put a rubber band on that one also. And the only thing with this is it does have some drying time, but a lot of it you can do without too much drying time. So I'm going to take this one, put it right on here. And then I'm just going to wrap the rubber band around. This one is kind of big. If you have one that kind of just fits, you only have to go around once. But this one's not going to hold it tight, so I'm going to have to give it a twist and go back around. And that's going to make it quite tight. I want to make sure that I have this pushed down. Make sure that I didn't move it up and off the end. There we go. And if it squishes it, that one didn't, but this one did right here. There's a little bit of a squish right there. That's okay. It's not a big deal because we're going to decorate the ends of it, so we won't see that there's a little dent right there. And then what you're going to need to do is take your tacky glue and usually the way that I do it is I kind of move one end till it's right towards the right next to the paper towel roll. Now you can't push it all the way through. They do stick out just a little bit. And then just put a little bit of tacky glue right on there and on the paper towel roll. And I do this to each one and then let it dry for a little bit. And then once it's dry, we're going to cut off the other side right next to the paper towel roll and put the glue on it just like this. So the easiest way is to kind of try and do all of them kind of at one end, because you know you put in a few random ones. I don't know, yep, that one I've already done. So I'm going to push that back down there carefully. And that one's done. And you can go around the, where we followed the line. And then you'll get all of those done, and then you'll just have your few random ones to go back and do, so that you're not trying to figure out, because some of them, if you didn't cut them real long, they don't stick out a whole lot on the other side, and you can push them back through like I did with this one right here. But again, we're just getting it right close to the paper towel roll and putting glue on there. Oh, I pushed that one a little too far through. There we go. So this is the fiddliest part, really. Even more fiddly than getting the skewers in there. And then once I get all of them done and let it dry a little bit, I will do the other side. I'll come back and show you, you know, how we do the other side real quick. And then I'll show you our next step. So I will be back after I get all these finished and let them sit for a little while. Okay, so I'm back and they've set for about an hour. And in the places where I got the glue really, really thick, got glue in my hands, you know, that's still a little bit white, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do the rest of it. So what I usually do is just, if I have any that are really sticking out what I feel is too far, I give them just a little bit of a press. But you don't want to push them too far, because you want to make sure that when you cut the other side, they don't pull through. So then what you're going to do is use your cutters and make sure that you hold on to it when you cut it and just cut this side off. Now you want to be careful when you do that. Don't pull on it at all, because you don't want to pull the other side out, because it's really, you know, close to the edge. And you'll have a hard time putting it back in. If you pull one out and can't get it back through, then just go ahead and get your skewer and put a new one in its place. So just go ahead and trim them all off like this. And then you're going to do the same thing. Go through and put the glue on them like the ones that we already did, and let that sit for a while. And then we'll go ahead and start with the decorating part. So, but just get these all off here really quick so you can kind of see what it looks like. We'll see if I pull any out. Hopefully not. But this is just a really easy step. So long as you let the glue dry pretty well, you'll be all right. And just about have all of them. And I have a few, even though this one's got glue on it, it was really pointing out, so I'm going to cut that little end off of there. And there we go. We've got them all out. And so now I'm going to go through, and you can see which ones, even the ones that are dry, you can see that they've got glue on them. So just make sure that you get glue on all of the rest, and then let those dry for just a little bit, and then we'll start with the decorating process. Okay, I'm back. I've taken the rubber bands off the end. I probably let this dry again for probably about an hour. And so there's still a little bit of wet bits there. That's totally fine. We're going to put wet glue on here, so it's going to have to dry again. But this is, you know, really a process, kind of work on it, let it dry, work on it, let it dry. And there's a lot of times where, like, this isn't completely dry, but since we're going to basically get it wet again, I don't really care that it's not completely dry. I just want everything to be held into place. So, but what we're going to do now is just kind of get a little bit of cover on this. This is the point now where we're going to decorate this, and you can do it any way that you want to, any style that you want to. You know, there are just so many different ways that you can decorate it. I'm going to use tissue paper and wet glue for my first layer. You can use fabric, you can use whatever you'd like to. But what I have is I have one full sheet of tissue paper, and when I folded it in half, it was pretty much the length of my stick. So I went ahead and I just ripped it. So I have two halves, and I'm gonna move one out of the way. I like to put my shiny side towards the surface because I like, this has two sides. I like the matte side on the outside. And I have some parchment underneath here because it's going to make a mess. But, I mean, it's easy. It's so easy to do at this point. We're just going to cover this with wet glue or water glue. And water glue is, and I say it every time, but I have to repeat it because I get asked every time. Water glue is 2 parts water, or I mean 2 parts glue to 1 part water. So, and you know, there is no certain amount that you need to make. If you need just a little bit, you can make just a little bit. And then I'm just going to take this tissue paper, put it on there. Kind of want it to be straight so it will wrap around better. And then I'm going to just let it be all crinkly because that is the way that I like it. And I put tissue paper on a lot of things. And I really do like it to be crinkly and rough. It covers up any mistakes that you have. It really gives it texture, which is why I really like to do it. But, and you don't have to try and be so perfect when you're letting it be wrinkled anyways. So just put on some glue and then just kind of wrap it around there. And I'm going to put both halves of this tissue paper around that's going to make this even more solid. And I want to try and get some down here, and then I'm going to try and get some up here so that it kind of covers where we put the bottom in the top, and just kind of grabs a hold of that a little bit. But I better get some glue. I'm concentrating on this and I'm not getting glue where the rest of the tissue paper is going. Yeah, see, it's really getting crinkled up here. That's totally fine. I'm just going to put it kind of wherever it wants to go. Try and get some of this down here again because I really want it down there to cover that up a little bit so that it grabs. And it just wants to keep coming right off up there. You know what? I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to glue the tube portion, and then I'll go back in and I'll put a little bit of tissue paper down there across the bottoms and the bottom and the top. And get it all nice and covered. Because here's quite a bit of area where I was trying to work on that bottom portion and didn't get too much up here, you can tell. And there we go. And once I get all the way to where it's all stuck down, I'm going to put the second layer on. But then even when I'm done, just like when you're decoupaging something, I will put a layer across the top of the whole thing, over the top of the whole thing, just like this, even after the second piece. When the second piece is on there, I will go ahead and cover it with glue, just like this. Like I said, that's why I have the parchment down, because it's going to get messy. And there we go. Now, because I was trying so hard to get this down here, I've got a lot of missing area up here. And I am going to, just in case you want to watch me put the second piece on, I'm going to put it on, but I'm going to move down a little bit further so it's not so close to the camera. And then go ahead and get this second piece on shiny side down, or towards my thing. And I'm going to kind of start this up towards this top now, since that's where I'm kind of missing. And I've already got the glue all the way over it, so whoops, I wrapped all the way around to here before I have to put more glue on it. Like I said, it's just a messy process, so you don't have to worry about anything perfect. The reason I will tell you on this one, the reason I like the messy process for this first layer on this one is it covers up all the little pokey sticks that are sticking out of your rain stick. So that's another reason to go ahead and really get it on there. But like I said, you can use fabric or something like that in a few layers, just to make sure that you get those covered up. And the rain stick, I have a rain stick that I got, I'm not even sure where now, a long time ago. And, you know, it's actually one that was made somewhere. And they have the little pokies sticking out a little bit too, which is way back when I made that original one. That's what gave me the idea to make it, was with the little pokies that they had sticking out of there. I figured out, you know, what it was, how they did it, and so that's how I wound up making the first one I ever made. So there we go. Now, this is lots of layers of glue, lots of layers of tissue paper, and this is going to take a while to dry. So you can dry it with your heat gun a little bit to get the outside dry, but it is going to take a while to get it to dry. And I want to put just a little bit more paper around. Get another piece of tissue paper here and just rip a couple pieces off. I want some across the top and the bottom, just to make sure that that's adhered well. So I'm just going to put that on there like that. And then just randomly put a piece of the tissue over it, just to hold it on there. There's that piece, and one more. Okay, and like I said, this is now going to have to dry for quite a while. I think that at this point, I will let this dry overnight, and then I will be back. Of course, for you, it's just going to be a minute, but I will let this dry overnight. I will probably every so often, as I walk past, hit it with the heat gun. And if you don't have a heat gun and you're just trying to dry something, a hair dryer works just fine. Really, the only time that you need a heat gun for your crafting, where a blow dryer will not work, is when you are trying to melt embossing powder, because basically what you're doing is you're trying to melt plastic. So there we go. That is now ready to go. I'm going to leave it sitting on my parchment because anything that it touches, it's going to want to stick to, but I am going to set it. Nope, I'm going to leave it like this, kind of give you a little look at it. But I'm going to leave it up on its end because that way the air will be able to get to it. Put it that way. That end didn't want to stand up. The air will be able to get all the way around it. So, all right. Well, I will be back in the morning. You'll be back in just a second. And we'll put some paint on it. And I'll show you what I do a little bit with the ends. Okay, I'm back to kind of finish this up. And so what I did was I got some fabric, which I went ahead and just got some of my painted ribbon fabric, and then I found some colors of paint that would match it, and I am just going to cut a square of this for each end, and then I have some of our wadding or stuffing. I'm trying to think if I want the lighter. I think I like this lighter end than the darker end, so I'm just going to kind of cut a square that will fit over the end. And cut another one. There we go. And you can do this any way that you would like to do it. This is just a way that I thought of doing it. So I just have a little bit of stuffing here. And I'm just going to put this on here. Move the box out of the way so you can see better. This is just a little too tall. That's a little bit too much stuffing. I just want a little bit so I don't have just this flat end. But if you like the flat end, you can leave it that way too. So I'm just going to do it like this. And now that I have it stretched over there, I'm not sure if I like it as well as I might like the darker better. So let me just kind of try that. This time I'll try it before I cut it. Yep, I do think I like that better, so I'm going to go ahead and cut a couple squares in the darker end of my ribbon, and I can use the other two for something different. There we go. And I'm just going to put some glue on there. I also grabbed out some yarn from the yarn bag that I got from the Salvation Army when we got a bunch of yarn. And I'm going to wrap this around after I glue it down a little bit. If I can get the glue open. There we go. So a little bit of stuffing. Okay, I'm going to put some glue around the top if I can get it going. Then I'm going to put a little bit of yarn around it. Then I'm going to paint it. And then I'm going to wrap the yarn more for decoration. So let me put this on here. Like that. Gonna wrap over top of the yarn to hold it down. Whoops. Put a little bit of glue on there. Pull that and hold it for a minute till it gets a good catch. just kind of just for effect, and so it's not just totally flat. And then we'll do some on the other end. I think I need just a little bit more. Whoops. And the other dark piece. Whoops, I forgot to put the glue on. So you can, just pick and choose however you would like to decorate yours. My other one I did in my favorite colors, the browns and the coppers and the rusts. But I just thought that I would do this one bright and cheery. So it's totally up to you how you want to do it. I think I need a little bit more stuffing in there. That's just not quite enough. Don't want to overdo it, but I also don't want to see all the edges of the tube either. Basically, I'm just trying to make it look kind of not like a toilet paper or a paper towel tube. Just making it look a little bit different. And just take some of our... This time I think I'll put a little bit of glue at the beginning. Wrap it around and catch it. And a little bit of glue right here. Now this is more just to hold it and to give it a little bit of thickness here, because we're going to wrap yarn around it when we're done painting it. But part of our yarn will already be there when we wrap the next layer. And you can, take a little bit more time and, get this, tucked together nicer, pleated a little bit nicer, but I think that looks okay. So that's what we have so far. And then I'm just going to paint it in the same colors as my fabric. Put down a little bit of parchment paper. And I'm just going to do it kind of random. I'll put some on here. So I've got pink and turquoise and green and orange. Let's see here. And I don't have a dark orange, I just have this apricot. So I'm thinking maybe I need to make it a little bit darker, so I'm going to put a drop of red in it. And just kind of mix that together to make it just a little bit darker. Hopefully I didn't get too much in there. And there we go. Swipe that off so I don't get all over my hands. And then I'm just going to randomly paint this up. And then once the paint is all completely dry, I'm going to put some black dots, maybe some little black or dot mandalas, or just a dot pattern. And I'm going to have way too much paint, so I'll be able to make a little, and I want to go right up underneath my yarn, not worrying about if I get it on my yarn, because we don't have all of it on here yet. I didn't bring any water, so I'm just going to wipe my brush a little bit. Put Put on some green. And I don't mind if the colors blend a little bit, because our yarn is variegated, which, you know, kind of blends from one color to the next. So it's okay if our paint blends a little bit from one color to the next. Maybe a little bit more down here. Get some pink in here. And then we'll get a little turquoise. I just get to the point where I'm just kind of concentrating, and but these are just fun to make. When you try it before you get to this stage, when you're gluing in your skewers, if you feel like your rice is moving too fast, you can put in a little bit more skewers to make it move a little bit slower. So putting in extra rice doesn't really help. You know, that just, it doesn't make your rice move slower, really. So if you think that it's not moving slow enough, just add a few more skewers, and that will slow the rice down a little bit. Okay, I'm going to wipe my thing off again to grab the turquoise. I don't want to make mud with the turquoise and pink. Yeah, and then when you can put some little dot mandalas on here and just kind of go around each color with your dots, or there's lots of like dot, I don't know what they call them, but kind of like little animals, like turtles and stuff that they make that are all dotted, made with the dots and that type of thing. So dot art you could look up, and I don't know why I like to put the black dots on there. And there we go. So that's what we've got so far. So then all we need to do is let this dry, put the dots on there, and then go ahead and fill in, which we could do that right now. So we can fill in our yarn as thick as we want it, because I want to bring it out a little bit and down a little further than what I have it. But then I'm going to have to grab my start right here where I left off. And then I'm going to come down a little bit. And now that this is my final wrapping, I am going to be a little bit more careful as I wrap it. Kind of wrap it in line, not quite as random as I did it originally. Thicken it up just a little bit. Put a knot in my yarn. And I'm going to do it just about like that. So, and actually I think that maybe I might even like sew a button on the top. This is kind of it's quite kind of whimsical. I think it would be pretty with maybe a bright button on the top or something like that. So I think that I may do something like that. And there we go. It might be a little further down than I want it. I'm going to kind of squinch that up a little bit. Definitely think that that was a little bit longer this way than I really wanted it to be. Now that I'm looking at it, I probably have it about an inch is about where I want it. There we go. Oh. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will finish wrapping this end and let it dry and put some dots on there and decide if I'm going to put anything on the ends or not. And then I will be back to show you how I finished it off. Okay, I'm back and I have finished up my rain stick. So I finished putting the yarn on the other end, and then I dotted. I just used the end of my paintbrush, the stick end of my paintbrush, and just dotted blue dots all around each of the different colors, just to give them some definition, and it just helps it look nice. And then I went ahead and I clear coated it with our Pledge floor gloss that we got when we made the embossing powder. That makes a really nice clear coat and a nice solid clear coat. And this has 2 coats on it. I put on 1 coat, let it dry, and then put on the other coat, and I think that gives it some really nice shine. I haven't done anything with the ends yet. I thought about putting buttons on there, but I don't really like that idea. And so I'm just trying to think, I might put a tassel on each end, or I may put a tassel on one end and then put a button on the other end with a string through it so that I can hang it up. On this one here, I just went ahead and put a piece of yarn to hang it up. But this is one that I made a long time ago, and I was just showing that as the sample when we were starting. But this is our rain stick, and I think that it turned out really nice. So, and if you want the rice to travel slower, you put in more skewers. But I think that it sounds very nice. I like the way that it turned out. So if you make one of these, I hope that you have a good time making it. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.